Hi, friends, and welcome to Season 3 of the School Librarian Learning Network podcast. I'm Steve Tatro, often known as Dr. T Loves Books, and I love talking about all things related to school libraries. I'm an old dog who's always trying to learn new tricks. That's why at each episode of the SLLN podcast, I'll chat with a school librarian about a lesson, program, or activity they love. Hopefully, this can be a place for school librarians to get ideas and find new ways to engage with their students and staff. Speaking of which, I'd love to hear about what you and your friends are doing in your school library. Email me at drtlovesbooks@gmail.com. That's drtlovesbooks@gmail.com to tell me about what you're doing, offer feedback about the SLLN podcast, or to request a podcast sticker. As Amy Herman likes to say, being a guest on a podcast is a great way to show your admins you are engaged in meaningful professional development and leadership in the profession. So drop me a line and let's chat. That being said, the opinions and ideas shared in this podcast by myself and my guests are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. I just like to geek out about school libraries. So without further ado, let's get to this week's episode. Hey everybody, I'm back. I got another new friend. I am very excited to hear about this week's activity, lesson, program. I'm not quite sure how to classify it, but it's awesome and I'm very excited to hear about it. But before we do, let me say welcome, Amy. I'm so glad you can be here. Why don't you take a second, tell folks who you are, where you're at, and what you do.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Amy Garlitz. I am a high school librarian for grades 9 through 12 at Frederick High School in Frederick, Maryland. This is my 13th. Well, I just finished actually my 13th year of education. It'll be year 14 in the fall, which is crazy.
Yeah, right? They fly by.
It really does. It's I just finished my 8th year in the library. So
Nice.
I was a teacher before I became a librarian. It was really a great experience these last 8 years. And I've spent them all at Frederick High School, which has been fantastic.
How did you end up going from the classroom to the library? What was that path?
So I was a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher. I absolutely loved teaching social studies, but I was kind of a crazy teacher where I would make these insane lessons that were like super elaborate. And I knew if I stayed in the classroom forever, I was probably going to burn out of education.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was trying to figure out, I was like, I know at some point I may have to switch gears. The librarian at my middle school where I taught, she was incredible. And she kind of pulled me in and she was like, you know, you would make a really great librarian.
Nice.
And I was like,
the recruiting. I love it.
Yeah. And I was like, really? You think so? She's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. She's like, you would be great. So she was the one that inspired me to look into getting my media specialist degree. I went to University of Maryland and got the school librarianship certificate because I already had a master's degree.
Gotcha.
So that's how I got into the program. And, you know, I was really shocked and amazed that I got hired in my position that I have now before I even finished my degree.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I applied on a whim because high school library jobs are so hard to come by. But you had to be within 12 credits of finishing your degree to be, you know, in the pool. So I was like, oh, why not? I'll just try. And, you know, the media specialist at my school, she was really encouraging me to go for it. And then lo and behold, I got hired and I was so shocked. And
That's awesome.
I really hadn't planned on leaving the classroom so soon. But I was like, the opportunity was there. So I had to take it. And I'm so glad I did because I've loved it.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, like we don't get a lot of social studies teachers in the library world. We get a lot of English teachers, but social studies is a little more rare. So good on you for making the switch over. And I can see from what we're going to talk about that the elaborateness of what you were doing in your classroom, which I love. This is awesome. So before we get into like the specifics of it, I'm just kind of curious, like what was the genesis of this idea?
So this idea came about when I guess now this was our 5th year doing it, which is crazy.
Wow.
So 5 years ago, our district decided that they were going to collect student Chromebooks, which we are a 1-to-1 district. They were going to collect them 2 weeks before the end of the school year. And teachers were freaking out. They were like, what are we going to do for 2 weeks without Chromebooks? So I was trying to think of like a fun way to help my teachers. There was a really great English teacher that I collaborated on this whole project with. So it's kind of our brainchild that we did together. And, you know, she was like, you know, the 10th grade English curriculum, they study Macbeth. Shakespeare has like appeal for everybody because we let all classes sign up for the Shakespeare Faire, not just English.
Okay.
So we have a wide variety of activities and events that can appeal to different content areas. And so we thought that would be a fun way to kind of end the year, give the teachers something to do with their kids when there's that extra time without the Chromebooks. And actually, the English teacher that I worked with, she taught a speech and debate class. So she had her speech and debate students do for their final project. They had to come up with a booth for the Shakespeare Faire. And so they were running separate booths that they came up with. And then we extended it the next year to our 10th grade English teachers, and they could have students compete as well. And we would pick the best presentations to come and participate and run booths at the fair. So a lot of it is student made, which is really awesome. And it's their ideas, and they're the ones that are running the booths. Like, I am just kind of like an extra go-to person to help them all along the way. But it's really like what they come up with.
That's awesome. Wow. I mean, I taught 7th and 8th grade English for many, many, many years, and Romeo and Juliet was always my favorite thing to teach with the students, because I know when they walk in the door, they're like, oh, Shakespeare, oh my gosh, and like, what is this thee, thou, thy stuff? But Shakespeare is so sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like, he was the summer blockbuster of his time. So like, when we can get the kids past some of the language and help them see the story behind it, holy smokes. Every one of my students was always like, wow, I did not realize. And I actually almost got in trouble one year because there was a parent who came in and was like, yeah, so some of the stuff in Romeo and Juliet is really not appropriate for 8th grade. I was like, hey, I just teach what they tell me to teach. I don't know what to tell you. So it's definitely got some racy stuff in it. But yeah, I love it. And I love that you're doing a Shakespeare Faire. And I love that the students are the ones who are really driving a lot of this. That's great.
Yeah, and it's really cool because we didn't just limit their booth ideas to only Shakespeare. It could be from Shakespeare or something from the time period.
Okay.
So we've had students that have done presentations on like executions during the time.
Okay.
We've had kids that were really into like the witches and Macbeth, and they make like a whole fortune telling station booth. And
that's cool.
Yeah, and they'll give like a little history of like the witches in the story, and then also like, during the time. It's really a cool thing that they could do. We've even had kids that are really interested in science, and they talk about how the people at the time were very interested in the planets, and they'll research and like explain like what they thought about, all the planets and astronomy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I love these connections they're making. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. We've also had like really great art presentations. We've had kids like create like 3D models of the Globe Theater, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So lots of really cool stuff. I would say one of the favorite booths is definitely the like Shakespearean insult buttons.
Oh, yes.
We had one of our speech and debate kids was very artistic. So she made a template that was really cool with a variety of insults. So the kids always enjoy those, and they can color them and make their buttons. And we actually made that station we have a really great collaboration with our public library system in Frederick. And he'll come in, he'll bring his button maker, and then he also gets to promote his summer reading challenge at the public library.
Nice.
So it's a really nice little connection to be like, hey, by the way, while you're here, just sign up for summer reading.
Yeah. Oh man, I love the synergy. That's awesome. So when you were kind of like when this is getting started with the students, I'm kind of curious, like what's the actual process that the students are sort of going through to, like, I guess the starting point is like, how do you notify them? Like, how do they find out about this in the first place, that this is going to be a thing?
So we work through the classes that are like coming up with the booths.
Okay.
So the English teachers will assign it as an assignment. They'll get a rubric showing kind of how they'll be scored. And we have judges, which I would judge. My media assistant is a judge. Administrators, if they're available, are judges, and any teachers that are on their planning periods, or teachers that taught seniors, because our seniors are already gone by the time we do the Shakespeare Faire,
Gotcha.
because it's always at the end of the school year. So they'll come down and be judges, and we have like a little scoring sheet so they can see kind of what we're looking for. And, some students, they will do really amazing presentations, but they'll be like, I don't really feel comfortable. I don't want to do it. So we don't force anybody to do it, but we'll ask them if it's really cool. We're like, hey, can we just have it in our gallery area so kids can still go and see all your awesome work? And usually they'll agree to that, which is really cool.
Gotcha.
But a lot of kids do want to participate and, run the booths. And it's really fun. Like there's certain booths that we always have, and then others are student create every year. Like we always have an axe throwing station because that's just a lot of fun.
Well, hold on now. Hold on. You're doing an axe throwing station in your library.
Yes. Don't worry. It is not a real axe.
Okay. That's what I was hoping you were going to say, but I'm so curious. So how are you doing this then?
So we have a student that will run it that usually is maybe like is really great at presenting, but maybe didn't have the best project necessarily. Like the student we had run it this year, he's very smart, intelligent. But the presentation, like his actual project was a little bit messy. We were like, I don't know. And he did it on execution. So we were like, would you want to run the axe throwing booth? And that way, you could explain what you learned about executions, but also have this activity to do. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll definitely do that. So he would, he's in charge. He keeps all the kids in line, gives them their 3 axes that they get to throw, and he'll go and run and retrieve them and get them back. And he runs the whole thing, which is really fun.
That is cool.
Yeah.
What are the actual axes? Like, are they cardboard? Are they?
They're like, so we got them on Amazon. They were like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they were like almost like a hard styrofoam with like a Velcro type of end that could like stick in.
Interesting.
Okay. They're a little hard. Like if it hits somebody, it would be hard. But the way I have my library set up, it works pretty well because I have a bunch of low shelves. And so the person that is running the booth is standing right next to the low shelf, and we will have that axe throwing thing on top of the shelf. Or in the past, we had ones that hung on the wall and they could be hanging on the wall. So nobody would be behind where the axes are being thrown.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That's, I don't think I've heard of like a Velcro hard foam sort of an axe. That's a brilliant idea and great for a library. Like, well, I mean, not great for a library, but like
for this event in the library.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And so axe throwing is a regular thing. Any other regular booths that you usually have in there?
Yeah. So we always have, like I said, the Shakespeare buttons. We always have a photo booth. We borrow dresses from the theater department. So like I said, we get a lot of people involved. So the theater department will loan us costumes. I also have, whenever I was a classroom teacher, I taught 7th grade medieval history. So I have a bunch of classroom props that I had from teaching. So those are in there too.
Awesome.
And, students love taking the pictures. One of the most random costumes in the assortment is always a cow costume. And there is always someone that wears it every single block that we do it. I don't know why the cow costume is there, but now we can't get rid of it because the kids love it.
Medieval cow. I love it.
Yeah. Let's see. We also have a Lego building station where it's set design and set building. So we write a description of 3 different Shakespeare scenes and the kids have to build Lego models after the scenes.
So that's a great idea.
Oh, yeah. It's really fun. And like the kids that just kind of want something quiet to do, they really tend to gravitate towards that. And then also connected to that, we have a coloring station where they can decorate masks for the masquerade. And also just coloring sheets from like Romeo and Juliet and other Shakespeare plays that the kids enjoy doing. And then the last booth, I think it's the last one that we usually have, is a hair station where a couple of students every year, they will help, braid students' hair, add ribbons to it. We buy like fake flowers they could stick in there. That one is always super popular too. And this year we didn't really have, the girls that ran it weren't as comfortable with like the braiding. So what they did is they got extra flowers and they helped kids make flower crowns, or they had bobby pins and like a hot glue gun and they could like make little flower pins to put in their hair.
Nice.
So it was like a kind of nice way to like change it a little bit since we didn't have anyone that quite felt comfortable doing the braids like we did in the past. But it was really fun.
Yeah, man. Boy, you've got so many great, like, even if you didn't have the student booths, just the stuff that you've got going for activities are so great. And like so many great like applications and tie-ins and different ways they're engaging the students. Like, that's so cool. I love it. Boy.
Oh, yeah. I also forgot we did have one more. We usually have like a movie theater set up in one side of the library where we'll show a film inspired by Shakespeare. So this year we showed West Side Story all day.
Okay.
And then this isn't every year, but we've had it quite a lot, is a puppet show. A lot of kids will choose to make a puppet show where they act out a play.
Okay.
So that's a really fun booth. And this year we didn't quite have a traditional puppet show. Instead, the kids that did their presentation, they had a guy that was William Shakespeare as a sock puppet, and then he ran Jeopardy and would insult people if they got it wrong.
That's awesome. Man. I love that. Boy, your students are having a lot of fun with this. That's great.
I know. I love it so much. And I love how
Yeah,
excited they are about it and how they've really like taken ownership of it and come up with so many cool things to make it better and better every year. Like I feel like every year it just keeps getting better as we keep building on it.
that's awesome. So how do they like in the first place, how do they come up with their projects? Is it completely just like you've given them a rubric of here are some things we're going to look for, figure it out? Or is it like, is there some directed, like limited choice that you're helping them with? Or like, how does that roll?
So we will show them previous year projects that were really great. We also have a
Okay.
couple examples of projects that were not great. So they can see like, this would not make the cut.
Hmm.
And then we do leave it kind of open from there. Like we'll give them a list of ideas of things we've had in the past, but we really leave it pretty open because we want to see what they can come up with on their own and, use those creative juices and see how they can make those connections themselves.
Absolutely. That's one thing I always was a little like on the fence about in the classroom was I don't want to give them too many examples because then they're just going to do what they see.
Hmm.
But if they have nothing, some kids just vapor lock and they can't even figure out what the parameters should look like. So it's kind of that dance of giving them too much versus not giving them enough. I love that you give them some that are like, maybe this isn't the way to go as a benchmark for them to think about like, okay, I can see where I need to at least get to. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. And it's really cool. Like the different new things. Like this year we had a group that came up with making paper dolls. I guess making paper dolls was a big thing back then. I had no idea. And like
Yeah.
they had this whole station where like they helped teach the history of like making these paper dolls and they helped people make them. And that was like a whole brand new thing. Like we're 5 years in, I'd never even heard of that before, but the kids found it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Man, I love how much they're taking ownership of what's going on here. And you were kind enough to share a document that has a whole bunch of info and pictures. The pictures are amazing, folks. Check them out. So awesome. I'm kind of curious in kind of looking it over. It seems like there are a couple of incentives for students that might encourage them to want to take part. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So that was actually a student idea.
Ah,
The students that came up with the booth this year for sonnet writing decided they wanted to make it kind of a little competition. So they wanted to teach students about sonnets, how to write it, and then they had a little competition. Oh, and teachers too. They decided to let teachers participate as well. So
nice.
they made kind of like a little basket of prizes. My media assistant is super creative and like fantastic, and she's the one that really decorated them and made them look really pretty. But
Nice.
it was the student's idea to have kind of like a prize or incentive because they're like, I don't know if people will sit and write a sonnet while they're here unless they have like some kind of incentive. So that's
Yeah.
how they came around to that. And then the Shakespeare Jeopardy game, once again, the students came up with the winning team. They gave out like beaded necklaces and they brought that themselves. So it was
Huh.
really cool. And like even in past years, last year, I actually didn't get to be at the Shakespeare Fair. I got everything set up. And then literally the day of the Shakespeare Fair, I had my daughter. So I was not
Uh,
there. But
that's a pretty good excuse.
yeah, but the one group last year had a whole thing about gardening back then. And they brought in like pots and dirt and seedlings and had kids, like every kid walked away with their own little pot. Like,
Oh,
I know. I was like, that is amazing. I also don't know how they got it together that fast, but they did. And,
that's so
like that's
awesome.
really cool.
Wow.
We've also had kids make like a slime station and they would tie that back into like the witches of Macbeth. And
Ah, okay. I
that's
was
how
wondering what the connection was
that's
going to
the
be there.
stretch
Okay.
there. Yeah. But they were
Gotcha.
like, they need to have hands-on things to do, which is something to think about when you're running a fair. So I appreciated that.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And I love you've got a little bit of an outline for booth judges in your document. And the very first item is the booth interactive? And I love that you are really challenging the students to think about how do we make this something that people will want to take part in as opposed to just like a poster board that you read or something like that. Like really giving them that active element of learning. And it also does it spark engagement? Is it educational? Like, I love these are things that the student should be thinking about if they're planning to be part of this fair.
Yeah, it gets them thinking. And, we try to tell them too, like, when you come to the Shakespeare Fair, what would you want to do? Like, how would you want to be engaged in learning about Shakespeare? So
Yeah.
that's, one of the ways they could think about it. Like, what would I have fun doing?
Yeah.
The only thing that like a lot of kids have really wanted to do, but we haven't been able to do yet is a lot of them every year always ask to do something with like cooking and food. But the way our school's set up, the library's on the second floor, our culinary class is on the first floor. We're like, there's no way that we could get like kitchen stuff up here if you're actively cooking. Like I don't think I can make that out. We'll see if we can figure it out one year. But we were talking about for a little bit, like maybe trying to expand it down to the first floor if we get enough buy-in from other staff members that maybe want to be involved. That's kind of like a little dream that English teacher and I had is like, it could be 2 floors of the Shakespeare Faire. But I don't know.
Awesome.
But we'll see.
Man.
I don't know. That would be a lot. And right now, the nice thing is I do like all the kids being in the library. So
Right. It's having that sense of what is going on and being able to sort of ride herd, especially with high school students, especially in a fair where they're kind of doing a lot of things. It's awesome if they are, but I can 112% see why you'd want to kind of keep an eye on things as it's going along.
Yeah, I feel like if we had people wandering to the different floors, that could be where like issues could arise, especially at the end of the school year. As we all know, they get a little crazy. So
heck yeah. I taught high school for a little tiny bit in spits and spurts here and there, and boy, the work you can get out of them, the thoughts that they can have are amazing, but also the level of their ability to get themselves into situations also rises with their ability to get things done. So yeah, I can see some challenges there, but that's awesome that you are already thinking like, okay, how can we expand? How can we take over even more of the school with this awesome project?
I know.
So great.
The culinary teacher mentioned the one time, he was like, we need turkey legs. And I was like, well, that would be your department, sir. You can figure that one out.
Man, all those greasy turkey fingers on books.
Yeah, no.
Not a good mix, but so cool. Yeah, and I love that it's very much a Renaissance fair, except with this very specific focus that is really tying it in to your literature, of course. But I mean, all these booths that you're talking about, all these activities that your students are doing, they're hitting on so many different subject areas and disciplines, and just the cross-disciplinary nature of this is so incredible. It's so great. Boy.
Yeah, that was a big selling point for, for the school, I would say. That's how we've gotten so many people behind us in doing this project, because it is not just like an English specific thing. It is something that could be open to anyone. And plus, like, Renaissance fairs are just fun. There's a lot of people that just enjoy them. So I feel like teachers really appreciate having those other subject areas. But I think they also just appreciate, hey, we can bring our kids out of the classroom at the end of the year and let them go have fun, and we don't have to plan anything. So I think that's also a win there.
Oh, yeah. Anytime we can take time off of teachers' plates when they've got that kind of amorphous, there's not really a great plan in place, like they're going to love that. They're going to love us for that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how many students are in your school?
So we're a fairly large school. It was like 1,720 students last year.
Okay. That's a pretty good sized population.
Yeah. So we're pretty large. And I would say the hard thing is, obviously, we don't have enough room in the library for literally everybody to be there all at once. So the way I set it up is I create a calendar. We are a school that follows blocks. So I split each block into half, and I allow, I think the maximum amount of students I allowed at a half of a block was like 90. And then the other half of the block, we have, 90 more. And sometimes it'll vary. Sometimes we have smaller blocks than others, but we usually let multiple teachers sign up to about like 90 students. So, because we feel like that's a safe, reasonable amount of kids in the space that we have.
Right.
Obviously, we have all the teachers are there. They're not just like dropping off their classes and leaving. So it's not just me and 90 students.
Yeah, no.
But
that would be problematic.
Yeah. So I think at the end of this fair, because like I said, we had varying numbers. I want to say we had like 850 or almost 900 students come through the fair this year, which was really cool, especially because that's, after seniors leave. So all the seniors are gone. They're not there. So
that's
it's a good,
amazing.
decent number.
Yeah. And so is this limited to 10th grade? Are the booths limited to 10th grade, or are those open? Because I believe you were saying that this was a 10th grade English project originally. So is that still a kind of a limiter or a guideline?
So it originally started with an elective course called Speech and Debate, and Speech and Debate can have kids from grades 9 through 12 in it. So it can have
Okay.
any age in there. If Speech and Debate runs in the spring, then we do have them involved still. But this year, actually, we did not have a Speech and Debate class in the spring. It ran in the fall. So we were
Okay.
like, come on, guidance counselors, couldn't you have put it in the spring? But instead, we just moved from the 10th grade English classes because that's the teacher that's been willing to do it. If there were other teachers that wanted to do it, I would totally be open to them doing it. I think, it's about them building in that time and figuring out those curricular connections to be able to put
Mhm.
that project in there.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And so are the same, like when you pick students who are going to be doing booths, let me back up a step and say, is this a multi-day fair?
Yeah, we do run it for 2 days. We feel like they put so much
Okay.
work into it that one day would just not be enough.
Sure. No, that totally makes sense. And so within those 2 days, are the student booths the same for both of those 2 days, or do you switch them up, or how does that roll?
Yeah, we've kept the booths the same for the 2 days.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll have kids that are like, I can run the booth on the first day, but I can't be there the second day because I have to make up a test or something like that, which is totally
Hmm.
fine. We're like, if you're running a booth and you need to leave to make something up, especially because it's the end of the year, it's crunch time, or there's like a really important class you don't want to miss, like you can totally come and leave as you wish. Like we get
Hmm.
permission slips signed from their teachers so that we have them and we know they have permission to be there. But
Gotcha.
also it's the student choice if they are like, I have this really big math test. I don't want to miss it.
Right.
Which, I was like, why do we still have math tests at the end of the school year? But yeah, go ahead.
So that actually kind of has me wondering, do the parents have to sign off that the kids are going to be part of the fair, or do you kind of at that age range, are they kind of able to take responsibility for themselves?
Ooh.
Because I'm in a middle school, and
Mhm.
so like everything we get parents to sign off on every single little thing that goes along. So
You know what? It's funny. Like my co-teacher is the one that's in charge of getting the permission. So I should actually ask her that. But I'm pretty sure because our school is kind of unique. We have this program called the Links program where students get permission slips at the beginning of the year to go on field trips. So I think because they signed the permission slip for them to be able to participate in all the Links field trips, this counts as one of those field trips. So I
gotcha.
don't believe they have to have like a separate sign off from their parents because
Okay.
they have permission to participate in those different experiences already.
Gotcha.
So, like the Links program, it stands for Linking Youth to New Connections. And it's about helping students learn about like different career opportunities. We have people from our community come in to speak to them about different careers. And, it's a really cool extra program that our school has. And it's like a special program that only our high school has, which is really cool.
That's really neat. I
Mhm.
love the idea too of making this a field trip, like that
Mhm.
it is because it is a learning experience. Like
Uh-huh.
it's a learning experience for the kids who are engaging in the booths, and it's a learning experience for the students who are going to be passing through those booths. So that's great.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's really cool. And like, yeah, like we said, because they get pulled quite often for speakers in our building, or they get to go off campus to go visit different sites to learn about careers. So it's very common in our school for kids to be pulled for these different things.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. And we've been talking about booths, but they're not actually like booths, are they? Like with Lucy as the psychiatrist is in 5 cents.
Not usually. Like some kids have actually made like a legit booth, like especially the puppet shows. We have multiple
Okay.
puppet show booths that are like in my storage closet. And they make it look legit. Like it has, the curtains and everything. It's really cool. But yeah, usually the way we do it for the kids is we'll- we buy some trifolds to have on hand in case they can't get a trifold for whatever reason. And they can kind of have it up either next to them or, behind them, however they choose to set it. So that's kind of our booth.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's almost like we might think of it like a station in the
Yeah.
library. Like okay, that totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. But I love that we're calling them booths because if you were going to Renaissance Fair, it would absolutely be a booth. So
Right. We're trying
love
to
it.
just,
Sticking with the
yeah.
nomenclature.
Yes.
Yeah,
And we kind
totally
of
makes
split things
sense.
up because, like I said, all of my shelves in my library are able to be moved. So we can kind of chunk them to like move and make different sections. And all of our tables can move. Like everything is movable, which is really nice. So we can set things up and kind of space things out in a certain way.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Huh. My library is not mobile. It's awesome that yours is, though. That's great. So, okay. So I can see the students are going to come up with their ideas. How do they present them? Like, how do they present them in the first place? Like before they're actually a booth, what's the process for them like submitting the idea for the booth?
So they will submit their idea to their classroom teacher.
Okay.
She is fantastic. She really is good about giving those kids feedback and is honest with them. So she has to sign off on whatever they come up with beforehand. And if she's unsure, she's like, "What do you guys think of this?" She may like email me and the other teacher, and we'll be like, "Oh no, that sounds great," or maybe like, "I don't know." But usually she handles all of that, which is really cool. And I feel like this whole big thing would not be possible if it was not a collaborative thing. You definitely
Yeah.
need that support staff, or not support staff. They're not support staff, but support each other.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Just trying to wrap my head around all the stuff you're doing here. There's absolutely no way I can even see one person doing this. So it's awesome that you've got that staff buy-in and strong collaboration, because they're clearly like partners in this. This is not just them passing you something. This is all of you working together.
Right. And I feel like that's the really fun thing. Like that's one of the things I love most about being a librarian is that collaboration piece and working with teachers and like working together to create something that's really fun and cool for the students to do. So
Yeah.
it's really great that the teachers, trust me and can work with me, and I can 100% trust them to get their part done too.
Yeah. All right. So the kids submit their ideas. Teacher says yes, no, maybe so. You figure out like is there a set number of booths that you accept, or is it like any that are good enough we're going to find a space for?
So it depends on how many sections of the class that we have going on, because it varies from semester to semester. And we did this year have some students present in the fall semester. So we picked, I think, one from each class in the fall semester. And generally we do one from each class that participates. If there are two and we just like love it, then we will like try to squeeze in an extra one if we can.
Gotcha.
And, it's really awesome because, a lot of our really high quality booths have been from our honors English classes, but we also have our merit, co-taught classes participate in this as well. And we have even had our, multilingual learners participate, which was really cool. And they were able to make a booth. And, we told them, we're like, if you want to speak in Spanish and in English to teach your content, like you're more than welcome to, because we have a very large Spanish speaking population at our school. So it was really cool. And I feel like they felt very proud that they got picked to be in the fair, because they were fairly new to the country. And it was really fun to see their perspective on Shakespeare.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that kind of actually brings me to a different question, related but slightly different. Is there a way that that either the students or you in setting up the fair are sort of differentiating for maybe different ability levels? Or, I mean, you've got your ELL students presenting in the language that's comfortable to them. Awesome. Love it. Is there any other kind of differentiation kind of stuff that goes on?
So the way we try to differentiate is we kind of try to think about a multitude of different activities that if I was a student, any kind of student, would I be able to find anything that I would like or be interested in this thing? So
Gotcha.
that is kind of how we differentiate, not so much by levels. Because, if a student really wants to just color, they could just color. There's a lot of like different options that they have that we feel like kids can find something that is suitable for them by having that wide variety of activities that they can do. So that's kind of how we differentiate to try. We're more so thinking like, how can we get kids to engage? That's our number one goal. We don't want kids sitting on their phones in a corner somewhere. We want them to do something.
100%. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And it's great that you are offering so many different ways for students to engage. So it seems like they would almost be hard pressed to not be able to not find something that they would want to mess around with. Like we got Legos, we got coloring, we got person engagement, we've got puppet shows, we've got videos. I mean, you're covering so many bases here that offers so many opportunities for different ways of just engaging with what's there, either with the people or with the materials, which is great.
Yeah, that's definitely our goal. Like, we're just like, the end of the day, it's the end of the school year. We want the kids to be doing something productive.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love about it is it's fun, but it's also productive and it's like they're learning. And even this, I mean, obviously the students who are going to be doing some kind of booth or presentation have learned the material that they're going to talk about, but they're also learning those presentation skills and speaking skills and interaction skills that are so incredibly important. And I feel like school doesn't always give them the best opportunity, doesn't give students the best opportunity to learn those skills sometimes. And so you're giving them that opportunity. Plus, the students who maybe aren't presenting are still able to come and see what's going on. And again, learning, engaging, learning through play, super important. And this is like a really nice level of play that is fun, but also, like you said, like there's elements tied to it. It's not just Legos. It's let's think about set design. Let's think about drama. Let's think about how this ties into the story. Like the coloring going along with the stories, the insults, like thinking about what the language means to do an insult like that. So many different layers to it. It's so great.
Yeah, thank you. I know. I love it. And like the kids love it. And even, we don't necessarily know when a teacher signs up. Like some kids will end up coming to the fair like 3 times in one day, but they will always find something to do. So I feel like that in itself shows it does have a lot to offer for the kids. Even if they come multiple times, they still have fun. And we have kids that are like so sad if their teachers, like if none of their teachers get in, they're like, I won't get to come.
That would be a bummer. I can see why, man.
I know.
So in terms of when the students are sort of coming through, is it pretty much like come and just see and just explore? Is there like a guided path through the different booths? How does that kind of roll?
So generally when the classes come in, we will have them come through the center of the library, and then on the far end of the library, we have kind of a presentation space. We have all the kids like kind of fill in there, and then we will do a brief intro, letting the kids know what the different booths are, what the expectations are when they're in the library, like that they need to find something to do. They can pick whatever they want to do, but they need to find something, not be sitting on their phones. That they need to follow anything that the students that are running the booth say they need to listen to because they are in charge of the booth. So they need to respect the rules. If they are not respecting the rules of the booth, then they will be sent, to a different booth. They won't get to participate. But generally, the kids really do a great job of following those rules, listening to the students. I think they really respect that it's their fellow students that are running the booths, really, and that, they get to participate and listen to what they say. And plus, they want to participate. So they want to do the axe throwing. Therefore, they'll follow the axe throwing rules.
Right. That's such a great, it literally would not have occurred to me to like have okay, before we get going, here are the expectations. And I love that you were starting that way and making sure there's no confusion. We are all on the same page. Here's what the rules are. And if you can't follow it, well, you're not going to be welcome here. So kind of setting that up in advance, especially for something like this, where it's going to be a lot of movement and it's going to be a lot of different things going on and things being thrown possibly.
Yes.
That's a really good idea.
We've even had like sword fighting in the past, so we definitely needed to have rules and expectations for that. And I think also the big thing about introducing it is the kids hear what all the different booths are. So it forces them to like not just see the axe throwing, but then maybe they'll hear about, a different booth that they're like, oh, I'm interested in that too. So they'll be like, I'll go throw an axe and then I'll go do that too. So it's nice that they'll kind of get a little preview of what's going on instead of just getting maybe stuck in one booth.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you said they're usually half blocks. How long is half a block roughly?
So I'm trying to think, like, how did we split that up? Because our blocks are about, we do like 45 minutes. We may have done 45-minute chunks, I believe.
Okay. That's big. I mean, that's more than I figured.
I know. It may have been 35 minutes. I'll have to like double check my calendar. But yeah, we wanted to leave time in there to like kind of set up really quick in between the different chunks. So yeah, maybe it was 35 minutes. It must have been 35.
Okay.
So that we had that time in between to kind of reset things, give the kids that are running the booths like a quick little break before going on. And, the way we set it up too is, since it's 2 days, we have 3 lunch shifts at our school. So the first day we took first lunch, and second and third parts were able to come in. And then we flip-flopped our lunch for the second day. So that way the first lunch people could come to the fair. So that was like another way to try and get more people, different people coming in.
Yeah. Boy, that's awesome. And think there's absolutely a value in having a limited amount of time, and giving them that preview up front kind of helps them to maybe mentally map out, okay, I've got 35 minutes. If I'm spending 10 minutes here and 10 minutes here, I'm not going to be able to hit everything. So I've got to think kind of strategically, which is really clever to kind of put that on them a little bit to think it through.
Yeah, for sure. And like, we didn't want to give them too much time. And plus, cutting those blocks in half allows more students to come in and participate. So that was our goal, to try and get as many people as possible through the fair and have that fun. So it doesn't give the teacher the full block, but it gives them a decent chunk by the time they like leave their class, come down, go back. It gets them through a lot.
Well, and I have to imagine that even after you've been there, you go back to class and now you've got something to talk about. Like, what did you like best? What were the things that really stood out to you? What did we learn? Like, just so many conversational options there. And even for the classes that are going to come down for the second half, you can sort of preload that sort of thing. Like, okay, there's going to be lots of different things. What are some things we want to think about when we walk in? Like, so many possibilities for helping the teachers fill that time, but also taking that learning from the space into the classroom as well. Like, that's great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I need to ask some of the teachers and follow up. I feel like usually during the Shakespeare Fair, it's so chaotic. Like, I never get to follow up with them and be like, yeah, what do you do after you leave? I don't know.
Well, the fact that you've been doing this for 5 years clearly speaks to this is something that is really getting some mileage in the school. And clearly the students are liking it. If they're the ones who are coming up with different kinds of booths and pushing for new, different ideas, like, that's awesome student feedback right there. And I think you said that some of the students are kind of maybe doing it and then the following year they want to return. Did I catch that correctly? Or
yeah, so with the speech and debate students, the way that elective works, since it is 9 through 12, they can take that course multiple times. So we've had a couple students that have run a booth for multiple years, which is really fun because they'll take what they learned the first year and kind of be like, all right, I learned this, I learned that I need to, say this a little bit differently to get the kids to really get into it or whatever. And it's really cool seeing them learn from those experiences and grow. This year we had all brand new people. It was all 10th grade English. So we were like a little bit nervous because it was our first year not having those kind of like crutch speech and debate students. So we were like, oh my gosh, how is this going to go without the speech and debate kids? Like, they're usually like our like go-to, like they're going to be great. But the 10th graders seriously rose to the occasion and they did such a wonderful job that I was thoroughly impressed. And I think too, it was kind of a good almost like a commercial for the English teacher to get kids to sign up for speech and debate, because it'd be like, if you do speech and debate, you might be able to do a booth again.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Stealth marketing. I love it. So the students are clearly enjoying this. Have you gotten any kind of feedback from the teachers or from the administrators about this program?
Oh, yeah. The teachers and the administrators are both very supportive of it. They all really love it. The first year, like I said, we built on it each year. I just basically used the library materials I had on hand, but now we'll get the English department sets aside some money to put towards the fair now.
Nice.
And like I've been like planning in the future, so I get a decent budget for my school library, so I'll make sure I put a little bit of my budget aside for the Shakespeare Fair now to get those extra materials as well, which is really nice that I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool way to make sure that we always have, flowers for the hair and, just markers that work at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Which can be a struggle. Or, popsicle sticks, or, I try to have a bunch of like crafty stuff. And I also use it for my maker space for school during the school year. So it all really works out that those materials are really good to have. But I always kind of keep like a little secret stash for the Shakespeare Fair for the end of the year set aside.
Yeah. And so I think you also mentioned at some point that the students are often doing a lot of their own material sourcing for their projects. Is that correct?
Yeah. We tell them, these are like, we give them a list and we're like, these are the materials that we have. You are welcome to use the materials that we have. If you want something outside of that, then you have to find a way to make that happen.
Gotcha.
So it's up to them. If they want to choose to do that, they can. But we certainly do not make that mandatory because, we don't, not all of our kids would have the funds to do such a thing. But, the ones that choose to are welcome to. That's kind of how we leave it to them.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm almost picturing like, because I'm thinking booth and I'm thinking, how do I get funds? maybe we get like a sponsor and like this booth sponsored by Tony's Pizza.
Right? Yeah, for sure. I feel like we could totally reach out into the community if we like try to expand and make it bigger or come up with like bigger and better booth ideas. Like I'm hoping, like that's a really cool idea. I might have to steal that and be like, let's go
Please.
ask all of our business partners that work with our school if anyone wants to sponsor a booth. That's such a good idea.
Why not, right? Get those extra funds going in there, see what the kids can really, give them a little bit of a budget, see what they could build.
Oh, and that could go, into like the financial literacy curriculum. So see, look at that.
There we go.
You're already making this better too. See, this is why we got to collaborate. It's the best.
That's it. That's absolutely it. I love it, man. So clearly this is something that has kind of evolved as the years have gone on, and your students are loving this. Your staff is loving this. This is such a great program. I can see why. If I know folks are going to hear this and be like, oh, I need to do this, because I'm already going, oh, I need to do this. And I'm trying to figure out in my head, how am I going to introduce this to my English teachers to work with Romeo and Juliet at the end of our school year? So do you have any suggestions, advice for like first time folks, or things that you really should have in your mind up front, or things that you've learned over 5 years of doing this? Like, we started here, now I know better.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the biggest key to success is having that collaboration piece with your staff. So I would say, try to be active with your staff, try to get to know your staff, really build those connections, because this is such a big undertaking. It would be so difficult to do by yourself. Like maybe if you have a small school, you might be able to do it. But if you don't have that teacher buy-in to bring them to the class, to the library, then it's not really going to work out. So my number one piece of advice is build great relationships with your staff, really get to know them on a personal level. And, that way, if you come up with a crazy idea, like a Shakespeare Faire, they'll be like, yeah, that sounds fun. So I really feel like building those connections, really trying to get your staff into the library throughout the whole year, that is always a focus for me, because, they won't want to come or won't trust me to put together this big event if they have never worked with me before. So I feel like that's such an important piece. Another thing I would recommend is having those clear expectations up front with your students about what you want to see.
Yeah.
If you don't have those clear expectations, then I'm sure the booths could just be like thrown together, especially now, like AI slop. We don't want that. So, we want like real, and I think too, we never really get any AI stuff because the kids really get into making this hands-on, because I feel like a lot of teachers don't do like the old school, like trifold projects anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an exciting novelty for them, where in the past, this may not have been quite as exciting, but for our students that are so tech heavy, it's really fun for them to do that hands-on work and be creative. Sometimes too, I think with the curriculum standards, the way they are, things can be so strict in the classroom. So this is a way for kids to be creative, but also learn at the same time. And I guess another piece of advice I would say is, you don't necessarily have to do a Shakespeare Faire. Find a really cool, interesting topic that a large portion of your staff and students would be interested in. Even you can make it history-based or science-based. It could be anything. So you don't have to feel limited to making it just a Shakespeare Faire. But, if you do, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like Shakespeare is sort of almost universally accessible in American schools, because it seems like every middle school and every high school teaches at least a couple of different Shakespeare plays or poems, or like it's just sort of a bedrock of our curriculum. And as you're pointing out through all of these different awesome tie-ins, it can be so cross-disciplinary. And so although you might be starting with an English kernel, it very quickly can spread out in so many different directions. So that's really great. And absolutely, it could go in different directions, but like in my mind, of course, it's going to be Shakespeare Faire.
Yeah.
But
right. I mean, I feel like it is it's just such a great cross-disciplinary topic that there's so many projects kids could do. Like we've had, projects about Shakespeare specific plays. We've had projects about Renaissance art. We've had projects about like King Henry VIII. Like, it just all of that British history. I mean, there's so much. And like I said, the science aspects, the witches, the gardening, it's just crazy what these kids can come up with when you're given just that broad kind of topic.
Absolutely, man. And like, I'm jumping because Romeo and Juliet, I taught it for almost 20 years. So like, I know it left, right, backwards, and forwards. And like, I'm thinking medicine with all the different stuff that Friar Lawrence is doing. And like, maybe different, I don't know, fighting styles or like gang violence. Like that's an important part of the play. Like, how do we tie that in? Like, I can see them doing modern connections to the medieval topics and really making it clear that these stories, although they were written 400 years ago, they're so incredibly relevant to so many of the things that are going on today because history repeats itself and people are people. And that's what Shakespeare's plays are at heart. They're about people in situations that they find, that real people are going to find themselves in. And maybe there's not spirits turning it into a donkey, but like there's going to be, those kinds of interpersonal conflicts are things we got to think about and learn about. So
yeah.
Boy.
And that's why we always like to bring in that like pop culture type of element to this and show at least like one Shakespeare inspired film. Like I said, it was West Side Story this year. We've done, the Leonardo DiCaprio Romeo plus Juliet. We've done
it so much.
The Lion King. And we've done,
nice.
A lot. Yeah. So we've done different pictures. I'm trying to remember what other videos we did. Oh, I think one year we did do like kind of like a compilation. Like we had kind of clips from different ones too.
Okay.
So you could definitely go a lot of different ways with that to get at that like modern tie-in that the kids can really be drawn into and see like, oh yeah, the story is still relevant.
Love that. Someday I'm going to manage to get Strange Brew into a Shakespeare class or lesson or something. It's a movie from the 80s about these guys who are Canadian who drink a bunch of beer and they're dum-dums. And the movie, it's based off of an SCTV. I don't know if you know SCTV, this Canadian like SNL version sort of show. And the two guys who are on it, Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, they play these brothers and they were just these goofballs in the show. But they managed to get money to make a movie and they made a movie called Strange Brew. And it is Hamlet. But it's Hamlet told in 1980s Canada with these two beer drinking guys who have to go to Elsinore Brewery instead of Elsinore Castle. And the uncle has died and they're trying to help this heiress like get her, the father's died and they're trying to help the heiress get her brewery back from the evil uncle. And like, it's so funny and goofy. And if it wasn't all centered around beer, I feel like I would have zero problem making it work. But it's all the beerness. I was just going to say,
the beer may be where you lose the admin. I don't know if that will get through.
It really is. It's such a shame because it's such a good adaptation. Like it's so funny and goofy, but does actually hit like all the story beats. But anyway, that's the hill I will someday die on, I'm sure. But
your last year in education, just bring it out.
Exactly, man. Well, I mean, this is awesome. I love that you have shared this out and that you were, thrown out in the world. And I happen to see it on social media. And I'm so glad I did because this is awesome. I really, truly appreciate you sharing this. Oh. I think we're at the point we're going to take our 90-degree turn and go into our book break.
Book break. Squiddy.
Yay!
So, for the book break, anything you want to share, what do you want to get on people's reading radar that they may not know about? Or maybe they do know about it, you just want to trumpet it because it's so good.
I know. So this was hard. It was hard for me to come up with just one because at the end of the school year, a really big, like trending, popular book for my library was Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. It is a thriller. And it is so good. It's technically an adult book. Like I think on Mackin, it was rated grades like 10 to adult. So I was able to get away with it in my high school library. And the kids love it. And I loved it. Like it was one of my favorite reads on Goodreads from the year.
Okay.
It's one of those murder mysteries that you can't put down. And in it, basically, this woman, she's really a very snarky narrator. She's very fun to follow. But you find out very quickly that she is suspected of killing her best friend. And she doesn't remember anything from the night it happened. And, it's been years since this murder happened. She's moved away from her hometown. She has to come back because her grandma, who's like her best friend, is like, you need to come back for my birthday. I think it's her 80th birthday. It's a big birthday. So she's like, all right, I guess I have to come back. And when she's coming back, she finds out that this famous true crime podcaster wants to solve this crime. So it kind of has those podcast snippets in it. It has her voice in it. It is one of those books that like has so many twists and turns and like I really could not put it down. And the kids were the same way. I had students that checked it out and they would return it the next day. And they're like, I read it in one night. It was so good.
Wow.
And
okay.
So they all loved it. And, my media assistant, she's not even a big thriller reader like I am, but she loved it too. Like, so it's had, appeal across multiple audiences. I would definitely recommend
Nice.
that if you are looking for like a good summer thriller.
Okay.
The other book that I recently read is, I feel like, everywhere online, but it's Yesteryear. Have you seen that one posted about?
I have not.
Oh, so it's really a big book right now. It is an adult book, but it's very unique. It's about this woman that is a trad wife on Instagram, that she has all these influencers, and then she kind of gets transported back into the 1800s and has to live that like kind of like trad wife life in the 1800s. So you're trying to figure out like, how did she get here? How was she going to get out of here? Like, what happened? So it's really interesting because the main character is awful. Like, she is a terrible human being. So it's an interesting read. I feel like this book is very divisive. Like, people either love it or they hate it, but like it is one that like so many people I've talked to have read and are dying to talk to anyone about it. So if you don't want to get on that buzzy book train, Yesteryear is definitely a good option for you this summer.
Okay. All right. I love it. Two great book recs. That's awesome. Man, thank you. I really appreciate that. Now, I know folks are going to want to be able to see what else you've got going on, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. You've got so many cool things happening in your library. Where might people go looking for you online if they want to see what's going down?
So my Instagram is Adventurous Librarian, and I also have a school library Instagram. That's kind of like my official, more student-facing one, but you're welcome to follow that one as well if you want to see what I'm posting for the kids. The Adventurous Librarian is more so for fellow librarians or teachers or just people that like books. But my school Instagram is FHS Cadets LMC on Instagram. I also have a TikTok, which is Adventurous Librarian. And I also have a Twitter, which is just Mrs. Garlitz. So I kind of have different names because my Twitter I made when I was in the classroom and I just kind of kept it the same. But, I am trying to get back into posting on Instagram. I was really good during COVID, and then I kind of fell off because I had babies. But my media assistant and I, for the end of the year, said our goal is to start posting all the cool things we're doing to share. And then lo and behold, you reached out. Like, I was like, all right, I'm going to make something about the Shakespeare Faire, and we're just going to start posting again. And then you found me. So I was like, see, it's encouraged me to start posting again.
It totally works. It totally works. No, I mean, I'm so glad that you did, because this is such an incredible, we already said cross-disciplinary. I mean, this is just so many awesome elements to this. And I love that so much of it is student-driven, and you've given them a framework, but they are just running with it. And that's, I think, one of the greatest that's really, to my mind, the best educational action that we can get, when the students are the ones who are engaged and involved and moving things forward. And it's not just rote memorization and spit stuff back. So this is like so many skills, so much knowledge. You are doing them such an incredible service by having this. So I truly appreciate you taking the time to come and share this with us.
Well,
really, really great.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you could see, like, empowering our students really just makes, everything more powerful in general. So giving them the tools and the ability and the trust to be able to run something like this has really been quite amazing to see. So I'm really glad that I could share it with you and your audience. Like, this is amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I know folks are going to want to follow you online, because I know I am excited that I'm following you, because this is great. And hopefully we can have some more conversations in the future, because this was just amazing.
Thank you. I would definitely come back anytime you want to have me.
All right. I'm going to take you up on that. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the SLLN podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for the episode. They feature links to resources shared by our guest, as well as ways to keep in touch with them, and links to the book break titles. I'd love to hear from you. If you have feedback, a comment, an idea, a question, or something you want to share, you can email drtlovesbooks@gmail.com. That's drtlovesbooks@gmail.com. Know a librarian with something we could learn from? Let us know. Until next time, be good, be safe, and be well.